Hello, beautiful people. It's Indaruma. Welcome to the channel. Today, we're back again with another video. This is from Stephen A. Smith. This is about Shannon Sharpe. I mean, the title reads Shannon Sharpe has stepped away from ESPN. So, Stephen A. Smith is going to be sharing his thoughts. And for lots of people who actually don't know what is going on with Shannon Sharpe, he's been sued. And I think there's also a video from TMZ which we're gonna check together. So yeah, let's dive right into the video.
And it's involving Mr. Shannon Sharpe, who announced yesterday that he would be stepping away from ESPN and ESPN's First Take, my daytime job, at least until the NFL preseason, sometime later on this summer. As you may recall, a lawsuit was filed against Shannon on Sunday by a woman using the name Jane Doe, or using a Jane Doe pseudonym. The 13-page civil complaint filed in Nevada alleged that Shannon Sharpe committed assault, sexual assault, battery, and sexual battery. Shannon and his attorneys responded with evidence of the relationship being, quote-unquote, consensual. And Jane Doe's attorney, Tony Busby, responded by releasing audio of an alleged conversation between his client and Shannon. For those that don't know, Tony Busby is the same attorney that filed the lawsuit against Jay-Z and Diddy, alleging they both sexually assaulted a minor, which has since been withdrawn. Jay-Z has now countersued Busby. Needless to say, the headlines this week took on the life of their owner, and as a result, Shannon announced he was stepping away from ESPN. Here's a portion of Shannon's statement that he posted on social media. Quote, "I will be devoting this time to my family and responding and dealing with these false and disruptive allegations set against me. I plan to return to ESPN at the start of the NFL preseason. I sincerely appreciate the overwhelming and ongoing support I have received from my family, fans, friends, and colleagues," end quote. It's been a difficult week from a sports media perspective, certainly as it pertains to First Take. Shannon Sharpe became a friend. When I recruited him to come on board on ESPN's First Take, he came on board and he did a sensational job. No matter the amount of success that we enjoyed for the 12 years prior to his arrival, he helped take it to another level last year. And we were doing our thing this year as well. And so when the news came down that he and ESPN had mutually agreed that he would need to come off the airwaves of ESPN, it was a blow to the show, a blow to me personally, because I'm going to miss him. But it was not a surprise. When I was on the air just a few days ago, a lot of people were looking for me to say something. I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to speak to one's innocence or one's guilt about something I have absolutely positively no knowledge of whatsoever. Do I believe that Shannon Sharpe is guilty of what he has been accused of? Absolutely not. That is my personal opinion. The brother that I've come to know, I don't believe would assault or rape anybody. And I'm going to state that emphatically. But just as emphatically, I'm going to remind everybody it is my opinion because of what I feel about him. Not in any way implying that I know a damn thing beyond that, because I don't know. I've seen the text messages released by his lawyer, who, by the way, I don't think has been impressive in this at all, because some of the information that was let out to the public, I have no idea why a lawyer would advise such a thing, but that's a different subject for another day. And we're allowed to deduce from an opinion perspective what we believe and what we don't, so long as we concede that we have no way of knowing definitively what the truth is.
Exactly. Absolutely. But yeah, do you think he actually stepped away from ESPN or he was fired? Obviously, to clear the air, I don't think any company, corporation, or industry at this point want to associate themselves with something like this. They obviously don't want this to tarnish their image because of sponsors, advertisers, and whatever. So go and settle your stuff at home. We'll call you back later, which most likely they may or they may not call. But I mean, he already knows what is at stake. His career is at stake, obviously, because this is messy. We've already said this before. This is messy on both sides, both for the man and for the woman. But with the text message and everything that we've seen so far, well, what do you think?
What I can speak about is the fact that this three-time Super Bowl champion and this Hall of Famer, who emphatically stated to me over the phone how innocent he is of these allegations that have been levied against him, insisting repeatedly that anything you read, anything you see, anything you hear was fully and totally consensual. In the same breath, what's inescapable is that without us knowing all the merits, he was working with Disney, where I've worked since 2003, excluding my departure from 2009 to 2011, when I was gone for those 2 years. Outside of that, I've been at Disney since October of 2003. I know this place. I know the worldwide leader that is ESPN, who's under the umbrella of Disney. And it wasn't difficult for me to figure out what was transpiring. As I sit here before you today discussing this matter, ESPN and Disney have a wait and see attitude when it comes to whatever evidence they may learn about this entire situation involving Shannon Sharpe from a legal and from a civil perspective. What they didn't need, as it pertains to those two things that I just mentioned, they didn't need any definitive evidence at this particular moment in time about all of that stuff once all the things Shannon Sharpe's lawyer put out there. It was uncomfortable to listen to, and it was not something that Walt Disney once associated with its brand. So to have him on the airwaves while all of that stuff was put out there was not something that Disney was going to take. That is what I mean when I say I'm not surprised. In getting to know Shannon Sharpe, I know a lot of things that he has articulated that he has been through in his life. I can't imagine too many things in life tougher than what he's going through now. And there's a lot of people out there talking a lot of smack, a lot of stuff about him. You will never hear that from me. It will not happen. I don't give a damn if we speak a day from now, a month from now, a year from now, years from now. He's my friend. And it's always going to be that way. I'd say the same thing to you about anybody else that I know to be my friend. I don't have to work with you. I don't have to be around you. I don't have to be around you all the time, talking to you all the time, to have love for you and to wish you the best. And that's exactly what it's going to be for him. I sincerely hope that all of this goes away and we find there's a bunch of falsehoods to these allegations and he's able to come back in this industry and do what he has been doing, which has been phenomenal. I hope Club Shay Shay and Nightcap and all of these other things that he's associated with, that he continues to thrive in his life and move forward. And whatever mistakes he may have made along the way, I'm not talking from a legal or civil perspective, I'm talking about in his eyes or that of others, whether it be moral or something else. I hope that he corrects whatever he feels he needs to correct and he moves forward.
Let me just ask this question. Do you think he's ever going to get called back to ESPN or for the job is doing or working with ESPN? Because listen, whether he's innocent or not, the mess or the allegations, obviously, there are some people, advertisers, investors, or whatever, that will still, the past is still going to come forward. They are still going to say, oh, we heard this video, this audio, we saw the text message exchange, so these are the things that you're involved in. And there are some people who will say that they don't want to work with this person, they don't want to associate themselves with this person, no matter how it is. They don't want to associate themselves with this because this is bad business. Because people will be like, okay, if you associate yourself, remember, birds of the same feather flock together. It's the same thing, the same analogy. But do you think that it's gonna come back to ESPN? For me, if I'm being honest, from say a professional stand or a professional view, I don't think it will, because it's not a one man business. It's influenced by lots of people and it's a corporation. Well, who knows? Maybe, just maybe, it may be called back, but maybe there'll be limited. It's maybe limited, or it shows, or what he does may not be like how out there. Maybe, just maybe. But what do you think? Because yeah, there are many ways to look at it, and some people may be like, well, they don't care as long as he knows how to do, how you can do the job. They really don't care. But there are some people that will be like, well, whether he can do the job or not, they don't want to be associated or dragged to this. They don't want this to be a stain in their name, because they want to work with, or they've worked with, or they are working with somebody who was accused of something, and not just accused of something. The text message exchange, the audio, whether you like it or not, the audio and the text message is not looking good. We have to be honest. Yeah, because there are some of your private lifestyle that you can just keep private without bringing it out in the public. And once it's brought out in public, there's no taking back.
But in the process of doing all of that, I hope we're all reminded of a few things. And this extends far beyond a Shannon Sharpe or anybody else. One of the things that we need to remind ourselves of is that in this day and age, very few things are private. In this day and age, there's very few things that won't come to light, because most things do. But thinking beyond Shannon, thinking beyond myself, just thinking about the world that we live in terms of the podcast stratosphere and everything like that, a lot of people want to walk around thinking you can do what you want to do when you want to do it. You can your own operation. You don't have to answer to anybody. That's not true. I've had people open their mouth and they've said, Stephen A., you work for ESPN. What kind of control do you really have? This is my podcast. This is my YouTube show. I own this. But if you think for 1 second that I can just do what I want to do, when I want to do it, how I want to do it, and there's not going to be any repercussions, you're clueless. And you're destined to fail and fall on your face. I'm not talking about Shannon Sharpe. I'm not talking about Shannon Sharpe. I'm not talking about anybody in particular. I'm talking about a climate that we're living in. Some people sit up there and they look at me and they say, Stephen A. don't get himself in this kind of trouble. How does he pull it off? Well, first of all, there's certain behaviors and proclivities that you never have to worry about me engaging in. But most importantly than that, I often say this about Walt Disney. I'd rather work for a place with standards than one looking for them. You know why? Because lines are drawn.
Yes.
And I never have to worry about crossing them because guess what? I've got something there reminding me, hold on. You don't need to do that. It's not a silo. I'm not by myself. I don't get to operate in any way that I want without having to worry about ramifications or repercussions. I always have to be concerned about that. So I'm challenged every day to come on the airwaves and think about the ramifications or repercussions of anything that I do. Constantly. And because of that, that's an additional guardrail to secure me from putting myself in a position that could jeopardize myself, my show, my brand, my family, the company that I work for, anything like that. Again, I'm not talking about Shannon right now. I'm talking about what people say when it comes to people like myself and others who unapologetically explain that we have people to answer to. And all you folks out there with your own podcast, running your own operations, if you have advertisers and sponsors, get what? You answer to somebody too. And I'm here to tell you, don't be upset about it. Feel good about it. Because you need to view it as an extra line of security that enables you, it being a guardrail, it enables you to watch lines that you want to make sure that you don't cross. Because when those lines are always there, you usually know it. And you usually make sure you don't cross it. Because the bigger picture is always staring in front of your face. I've seen a lot of stuff happen over the last few months. I've seen a lot of stuff happen over the last few years. And in almost every case, guardrails were pretty much absent. I'm glad I have guardrails. The people that work for me, the people that work with me, the people I work for, the public at large. I found a way to be me, while in the same breath, guarding myself against some of the things I need to be guarded against. Just a thought. Just a thought. Back to Shannon. I'll always be here for him if he needs me. Just the same way I said that about Skip Bayless when he departed from Fox. Just the same way that I would say about any of my friends. That's what friends do. Even in the toughest of times. Sometimes, especially the toughest of times. They ain't telling you you're right all the time. And hell, sometimes they may not stop you from falling into that abyss, but they're there to lift you up when nobody else will. That's all I have to say. Other than I hope he's back in this business real soon on linear television, talking some football, because that man knows his football. And he certainly knows how to entertain us while he's talking about football. I'm going to miss him. I hope he's back soon. But if by some happenstance that doesn't happen, I'm always going to be wishing the best for him, no matter what. And it's involved.
Obviously, what Steven said here is absolute true. And I see lots of people be like, oh, he's coming to say this in public and still saying that Shannon is his friend. Listen, if you have a friend and your friend cannot call you out and say, oh, you did, this is the area, or this is where you're wrong, or where you did wrong, then you have to change friends. Because, listen, you have to have somebody that can also tell you straight to your face and say, but literally, you messed up in this area. That is a true friend, right? right? And you guys can still resolve it, laugh over it, and say, well, okay, you're taking corrections, you're gonna learn, or and whatever. I remember that is the most important reason why there are guidelines too. Because if you work in an environment or if you're in a place where there are no guidelines, I don't think anybody can survive in a place where there is no guidelines. And everybody know that once there are guidelines, never you try as much as possible not to break the guidelines. But yeah, this is a video from TMZ. We're gonna check it together because lots of people may not know exactly what we're talking about with Shannon Sharpe. This is the video.
Moving on now to Shannon Sharpe facing some very serious allegations from a woman who seems, as she describes herself, as a former girlfriend who is now suing him for $50 million, alleging he repeatedly raped her during their time together. She admits that they were in a consensual relationship, but that things got kind of ugly last year and beginning of this year when she says that he had a very angry reaction to some things that she was doing.
Yeah, Shannon actually says, or I guess she actually says in the lawsuit that this stemmed from Shannon's, you guys remember when he had that live stream, what appeared to be sex episode?
Oh, right.
In her lawsuit, Jane Doe alleges that she basically wanted to break things off with him following that. She claimed that it was cheating and it was infidelity and she wanted no part of him.
So she's
From consensual, emphasis on consensual, and now maybe cheating. Obviously, there for me, I what I keep saying is we really do not know what goes on or what has happened behind the scenes. What we know so far is he said, she said, or somebody coming to say, oh, this alleging. We do not know what goes on behind the scenes. There can be two truths and there can be two lies, or both parties can be lying at the same time. Both parties can be telling the truth at the same time, because it was the two of them that were in the bedroom. We were not there together. Even the text messages and whatever, we were not there when they were exchanging those text messages or whatever relationship they both have. You know how it started, the middle, and where it got really bad. Problem number one. But obviously, it's messy for both parties. We just gotta be honest.
Infidelity and she wanted no part of him.
so she's saying that wasn't her.
Correct. She says that was not her, and
right.
It was proof that she was cheating, and she said it was proof that he had been leading her on, and saying that he was only having sex with her, and he was her only partner. Well, she said she tried to break that off, and then in turn, Shannon kind of responded in this way, not just in October, but then in January, she says after he promised to bring her a Christmas gift and a birthday gift, he forced himself on her again. So,
Edward, has Shannon responded to this?
No, and actually he appeared on ESPN today doing his job as normal, and in fact, just a few minutes ago, Paul Heyman was talking on Pat McAfee's show on ESPN and made reference to it as well. So there's been some references to it on ESPN, but nothing from Shannon or the honchos over there.
Mara here from Bolingbrook, Illinois. I'm interested in seeing how this will play out for Shannon. We know it's innocent until proven guilty, but the court of public opinion is very real. It also makes me wonder, though, is this another attempt for Busby to extort a high-profile celebrity? My thoughts and prayers are definitely with the victim because these claims are horrendous.
Yeah, we say Tony Busby is the attorney for the woman who's suing. Yep. Okay, moving on.
Okay, obviously this was before all of this, so this is exactly what is going on with Shannon Sharpe and everything. But let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. Do you really think he's gonna get called back to his job at ESPN, or you think this is bye bye for good? And what are your thoughts regarding this lawsuit, the allegations, and whatever? I would really love you to share that in the comments below. Make sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, and all that stuff. And until next time, see you in the next video.